Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Just a few weeks ago, I uploaded a video about the pros and cons of a no terraforming island. So basically working with the default layout that Animal Crossing gives to you and how that can be good or how that can also be kind of bad and annoying. And today I'd like to actually do another pros and cons type of video, but this time we'll not talk about a no terraforming island, but a no cliffs island, meaning absolutely no cliffs, no inclines, no nothing. The entire island is completely flat. Waterscaping, however, is allowed. I actually started my own version of this island just a few weeks ago, and I already noticed a couple of things that I do want to talk about. But as I explain the pros and cons today, I'll also be showing you two other islands that were done completely without any cliffs. One is by Annika, aka ACNH PD on Instagram, and one is by Chrissy, aka acnh.car_suno. Both of those islands are completely finished, and I will leave the DA, if available, in the description box below. And I'll also go ahead and link my no terraforming island tour as well as the pros and cons list of the no terraforming island down below, so you have like a bit of inspiration to go off. But without further ado, enough of the introduction, let's go ahead and get started. Just like in the last video, let's go ahead and start with the cons. If you've ever flattened your island once you've reached a 3 stars, you know that a completely flat island is giant. You can run across it what seems like for minutes and minutes, and there seems to be no end to this. And obviously this is kind of the canvas that you will be presented with if you decide to do an island completely without any cliffs. Especially, of course, if you decide not to do much waterscaping. In my case, I actually opted for tons and tons of waterscaping. That's like part of my theme. But of course you could do minimal waterscaping too, and then you'll really have a ton of space that you can work with. Obviously that's great because, you know, you have a lot of space, but also we all know how overwhelming it can be. If there's so much space and there's just nothing for you to use for orientation or anything, it can really be intimidating. Speaking of orientation, I also would like to mention the missing guidance. If you remember in my no terraforming video, I said it's really nice to have like the finished canvas in front of you because you can use like certain cliffs or rivers to place houses against. But obviously with a no cliffs island, that really kind of isn't the case. If you keep the default waterscaping, you might have a little bit to start out with, but obviously you have to remove parts of the river. But if you completely flatten it and you have a completely flat island, there's no guidance for you. There's not really anything that you can start doing. You couldn't like just place a bridge somewhere or like place a house somewhere, which again, little intimidating to be honest, and it can make the flow of the island a little harder. Now, obviously, if you don't have any cliffs, everything will be on the same level. Now, with the curve that comes with the Animal Crossing kind of world, it'll probably miss a lot of depth and height. So you're gonna have to try and create some depth and height just with items, maybe different stages of trees. I talked about how to stunt a tree in my tips and tricks video if you haven't seen that one just yet. And obviously it can be kind of hard to layer houses, like, you know, when you usually do one house on the bottom floor and then the next one like a cliff higher, that wouldn't be possible. You can't really have like cliffs as a backdrop for houses. You can't like hide certain houses. I also feel like people might struggle with certain spaces that usually have tons and tons of cliffs. I feel like a lot of people put cliffs by the entrance to make it all cozy, or also at the back of the island. Usually there's lots of cliffs and the back of the island is always a level higher, so this can be like a very unusual area to have to work with. And then obviously if you have no cliffs, you will have no inclines, which can sometimes also create an amazing decorating moment. You can't have any waterfalls, which, you know, frankly, to be fair, that it's very quiet. You know, waterfalls are incredibly loud, and if you can place them, your island will be so peaceful. It's awesome. But we're talking about the cons here. So no waterfalls, you know, they look awesome. So unfortunately you can't do any waterfalls. And then something I actually was a little bummed about, obviously, you can't use any vines. You know, the hanging vines on the cliffs, you can't use those either. And I really have grown to love them, and I almost can't build an island without them. So not being able to do that, of course, isn't the greatest. And I definitely want to stress that, you know, it's a little hard to make viewing platforms or like impressive overviews. Even on my island where I've done like tons and tons of waterscaping, and I think if you did like a platform somewhere higher up, it would kind of be an awesome view, but I can't because I don't have any cliffs. You can climb up somewhere, and so the, you know, overviews, like you only can see so far with the general like camera settings, you know, and so that really is something that's not going to be possible, which I feel like a lot of people might miss. I also at this point want to say that I actually don't know if you can still reach 5 stars with like no cliffs and no inclines. If anybody does know, feel free to put it in the comments below. For me, it doesn't really matter. I just want to kind of decorate and create an island that I love and not that Isabel loves. But if that's something you care about, maybe take that into consideration as well. But with that, let's already head into the pro arguments. One of the big arguments against a no terraforming island was the fact that you pretty much can't recover a default layout. So the only way to do a no terraforming island is pretty much to start a new island, which is incredibly frightening, especially with the DLC, as that one also gets completely reset. And if you've already built like over 30 houses and you've unlocked all the cool stuff, you know, and then it's just completely erased, that's kind of frightening. But now this doesn't matter with the no cliffs island, because the only thing you need to do is to flatten all the cliffs and you're ready to go. So you could literally do this at any point, no matter whether you've already created a full island and you just want to start over and like flatten everything, you can do that, or you can start from the default layout and just flatten the cliffs like in the back and you're ready to start. So I feel like this takes away a huge argument that probably makes a lot of people not want to do a no terraforming island, but a no cliffs island might be something for you. But just like the no terraforming island, a no cliffs island is also a fun challenge that can reignite the passion and joy. That sounds very posh and weird, but I think you know what I mean, because it's just something different. You're kind of challenging yourself to do something that's not usually done. I feel like there are certain areas where it's just kind of normal to have cliffs. You know, like lots of people built them at the entrance or at the back of the island. And to create those areas without any cliffs now can be an awesome challenge. Now, the next argument for one of those islands, I think, is the one that made me really do it, because deciding to not build any cliffs whatsoever takes away a huge stress factor. I don't know if you've ever heard about the term decision fatigue, but basically it's when you have to make so many small decisions that at the end of the day, you just can't make any more decisions. It's the reason why Steve Jobs, for example, chose to wear the same shirt every single day, because that was a decision that he didn't need to waste any brain power or energy on, and he could use that for more important decisions. Obviously, you know, comparing your Animal Crossing island to Steve Jobs might be a little weird, but decision fatigue is real, and I feel like oftentimes when you have to think about 100 different things when creating an area, it can quickly lead to being completely burn out, not from like the game, but just like for that day, maybe you don't really know what else to do. You know, for every single area, you would usually have to be like, okay, do I want there to be cliffs? Yes or no? Do I want there to be additional waterfalls? Yes or no? Do I want there to be more water, like a river, a pond, a lake or something? Do I want a tree here? Do I want a tree here? And like, we haven't even started really decorating and you already have to make so many decisions. You know, where does my path lead? Where do I make an incline? How do I connect certain areas with cliffs, and where do I end this cliff, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously you still have to make a lot of decisions and the flow of the island can still be a tough thing, but taking away cliffs takes away so many issues, because I feel like oftentimes the biggest stress factor in Animal Crossing is the way that cliffs, water, and trees work together. And then sometimes you have to make sure that you can fit certain things. You have to change cliffs to make room for water. You can't round certain edges. It's like a whole pain. And the biggest issue in that is I feel like the cliffs, because their spacing, especially in combination with trees as well, is horrible. So taking away this entire thing and going to start your island with the thought of having absolutely no cliffs whatsoever is such a big relief. I honestly can 100% say this is true, and I also know that Anika and Chrissy really enjoyed creating their island for this reason. As I've already kind of mentioned it, you know, the trees in combination with cliffs and water are usually pain. Now let me tell you, when there are no cliffs on your island, you know, you might still be struggling a little bit here and there, but trees are so much easier to place, trust me. Something I already mentioned in the no terraforming island also kind of is the case here, which is that you can work on different areas at the same time, kind of, because you don't have to worry about cliffs and the flow of the island. You already kind of have a pre-existing canvas, so you don't have to worry too much. And I found that connecting areas that you've created in different parts of your island is a lot easier if you only have to worry about waterscaping, because water can literally be a tiny little river or something, but with cliffs you always need like enough space, you know? Also, you can pretty much start right from the beginning beginning because the first part of your island, like the front part, will be flat with the default layout. So you could already kind of start putting down some codes or putting down some decorations and stuff even before you have the 3 stars. You obviously couldn't flatten the cliffs or put any water around, but you could start kind of mapping out some pathways maybe. One thing I love about this is you can still use waterscaping to fill spaces, if you want to call it that, but generally you can still use waterscaping. And if there is like a bigger area that you don't really know what to do with, you could still make like a lake or a pond or a big river, you know, and just kind of make it a little bit more interesting with some waterscaping. I also would say that this is a beginner-friendly challenge, so if you're only starting to play the game, you're a little bit overwhelmed, maybe this is actually an option for you because cliffs can be really, really hard to figure out. Like stacking them, making them kind of look natural, making them big enough, making them interesting enough, figuring out the waterfalls with them and the trees with them. It can all be super, super annoying and overwhelming. And I speak from experience when I say that this can take away a lot of the joy. So I feel like this is really something that everyone can kind of do, no matter how long you've been playing the game. And last but not least, in the argument list, I also want to say the same thing I said with a no terraforming island, because if you have a finished island that has no cliffs and you show it to other people and you tell them this island has no cliffs whatsoever, they're probably going to be impressed. It's not something everyone does, and so I feel like it's really something super interesting to a lot of people, and I'm already looking forward to having like a finished island that has no cliffs because I just feel like it's such an exciting thing. And here we are with the pros and cons list. Would I personally recommend a no cliffs island? I think if you've listened to me talk about this for the last few minutes, you probably know the answer to this, because yes, I am heckin' excited about my own island. I think it's such an awesome island to create. I've been having so much fun. I've been just waterscaping so quickly too. Like I've just been so inspired and been having so much fun with it that I 100% would recommend it. Obviously for my island, I'm using a lot of water, so the areas that I decorate aren't super big, I think, but I actually feel like I might be doing another one of these islands and then have like bigger and open spaces that I can kind of fill. So let's see where this all takes us. But here's all the pros and cons and my personal opinion. If you have anything to add, please do let me know down in the comments below. Have you created an island with no cliffs before, or would you like to create one? Tell me all about it in the comments below. And then thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this was somewhat helpful. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. And then I hope you have an awesome time until I see you in the next video. Bye everyone!